hustle about. I take the packages I need to take back to our manufacturing facility, put them in my car. I get in my car, and the woman who runs our retail store calls me in tears. Will, the place is burning down. Huh? And again, I've got this peace about me. I can't explain it even to this day. So I get in my car and I pull out of the Grove City outlets. And you know how when you pull out, if for those of you who have been there, you pull out of the outlet mall, you make the right turn to get to 79. Again, remember, our building was 5 miles away. I pull out of the outlet mall, I make the right turn, I look up. What do I see? Holy Toledo. This is worse than I thought. So I drive again, but I've got this peace about me. There's no stress on me, and I'm just like, this is big. This is significant. So I drive, and I literally am unable to park anywhere closer than about 3 blocks up the street. And I walk, and I see about 21 volunteer fire. I didn't know how many at the time. 21 volunteer fire departments at our building. And the fire raging out of control. The building was a total loss. What we had celebrated a day before, we see before us crumbling. And again, we as a group of folks, and I think you can see the similarities to what we do together, TSI and Wendell August. You know, we've been through so much together. We had seen some victory. And now, possibly, it was just burning before our very eyes and evaporating once more. And I can't tell you how many people came to me, you know, my fellow employees, Will, what am I going to do? I can't be without a paycheck. I got to feed my kids, my family. What am I in tears? Because what they see in front of them is the end. And again, I can't tell you how many folks came and attended to me. And so what we did is after this, and again, I've still got this peace about me that, you know, wasn't a cocky peace. It wasn't like, hey, I'm okay, you're screwed, it's okay. Not at all. Not, and I pardon my language, but it was just this peace that something's okay. And so after hearing a number of our, you know, my fellow employees in tears, we came together in a prayer circle, in a very simple prayer. God, we don't know what's going on. You do. We trust you. Show us the way. And we broke that prayer circle. And it was like the clouds lifted. The fire was still raging. But it was like the clouds lifted. And now our job was to get Wendell August back up and running. And it was a thing of beauty. And I was a bit player. You know how like there's extras in a movie who stand there behind, you know, 22 yards from the star and think it's their big moment, they do nothing? That was me that day. And I watched a beautiful, beautiful thing. I watched my fellow employees working with heroic firefighters, all volunteer, by the way, get about the business of saving whatever we could in that building. And I'll never forget, one of the things that we have is called a die. It's our original artwork that everything we make is made from. We have about 4,000 of these dies. Without them, we're out of business because it's the beginning of our process. It would be like if all 10 residents burned down. Right? Where would TSI be? That's where we make magic, in the residences, right? If all of those burned down at one time, we'd be struggling, right? And that's what these dies are for us. Nobody was hurt, and that was the most important thing in the fire. But here's what I watched. I watched about 80 firefighters, while the fire is raging, go into this building and form. Can you mind standing up? And doing a 2x2 line where they're passing these guys about 50 yards down the way. They are in it. You should have been there. Were you there? Thank you. Heroic. I sat there in tears, transfixed, at what they were doing. They were volunteers, and they were risking their life to save this company. You know what? Each and every day, You're not risking your maybe physical life, but you are giving your life to save not a building, to save people, to get them reintroduced to a community. And as I'm thinking of our story and I'm thinking of what you do each and every day at TSI, I'm like, oh my gosh, the similarities are so apparent. And so the building burns to the ground. We only lost 40 dies out of 4,000.
Wow.
Providential.
Yeah.
The business is burnt to the ground, but our people are okay and our dies are okay. There's light at the end of the tunnel. The next day, oh my gosh, the next day is I don't know, have any of y'all ever experienced a fire, a devastating fire?
Yeah.
Enough.
Right? I mean, it's devastating. It is. We had 87 years of history in that building. So if any of you have ever experienced a devastating, you know where I'm coming from. So the building is still smoldering and fire. I mean, there's still firefighters there. This is probably 20 hours after the fire had started. Still battling blazes. Heroic. If any of you were firefighters or know firefighters, just thank you. But we're having that fateful meeting with our insurance adjuster, or insurance guy. And he pulls me aside and he said, Will, I need to share reality with you. 2 things. 60% of companies never recover from this type of event. I need you to be prepared for that. If you do recover, you're going to be out of business for the next 9 months. That's the average. You're going to be out of business. You've got to prepare yourself and your employees for that. No way. No way. Let me tell you, again, I'm a bit player. Let me tell you what the heroic people I work with each and every day did. 9 months. 9 months, we're supposed to be out of business. How about our workshop where we make our giftware was back up and running in a temporary location in 5 days.
Wow.
5 days. Amazing. Our offices, fully staffed, new paint, and this is another temporary building, furniture all in, computers set up, open for business in 2 weeks. Our flagship retail store was reopened in another location in less than 4 weeks. Again, the Wendell August story is not my story. It's a story of a providential God working through amazing people to accomplish the miraculous. Again, the similarities to what you do each and every day. Amazing people doing the miraculous in the lives of people each and every day. Please never forget what you do. You know, when we're sucked into it each and every day, sometimes we can't see the forest through the trees, right? I mean, we're dealing with the client, we're dealing with a coworker. It's stressful, it's tough. But you're doing the heroic. Again, we make giftware. You change lives. And I don't care if you're in a residence or you're in the office, your support or whatever you do, you are changing lives. And so we got back up in business. And there's another part of the story, the Pittsburgh Penguins. You know, Saturday night, I'm just waiting for the call from David, I think David Morehouse, the president of the Penguins. I'm waiting for the call to say, hey, Will, thanks so much, but we got to look elsewhere. This game is too important to our fans, to us. We can't risk it with you. How about this? We get a call on Sunday, that next day, from the Pittsburgh Penguins. Ross Miller, their marketing guy. And he said, Will, what can we do to help? Huh? What can we do to help? We're going to keep the order with you because we believe in you. Not me. We believe in Wendell. We believe in your team. Not only that, Will, can we prepay you for all of these tickets to help your cash flow?
Wow.
Seriously. I mean, I don't know if I dropped the phone.
You dropped.
But again, that's Pittsburgh. That's this area, right? We help each other. And again, I've told that story so frequently. And again, if any of you are Pittsburgh Penguins fans, what an organization. What an organization. Absolutely amazing. But again, this is symbolic of Pittsburgh. We help each other. And so we went on to make those ornaments. And I could tell you 50 more stories about that. You know, of things that happened that you just would say, no way could that have happened. No chance that could have happened. But all these things kept coming into play to pull this off. And I can't tell you what a sense of pride I had that day on April 6th, 2010, when the van left the Wendell August temporary manufacturing facility in Grove City and drove to Pittsburgh to deliver that order. And once again, I realized that I was working and I was blessed to be a part of a team of unbelievable people. Because to pull that off, as you can imagine, we had to work 24 hours a day. Literally 7 days a week. Literally. Our craftsmen had 2 shifts. It was like 6 to 6 and 6 to 6. I mean, how about pulling that gig? You think a 2-hour mandatory meeting is tough. And these guys are using big ball-peen hammers. And working in stainless steel, which what the roof was made of. I am blessed to work with amazing people. But again, the similarity to the glow in the faces that I see in this room today is absolutely just, there's such synergy between what we do. Now again, we don't make what you guys do. We don't have that impact, but you do. But I want you to look around at the people today, because that's what I was able to do that Friday, as I walked around and as I looked in everybody's eyes and shook their hands and said, thank you, with tears. I mean, I'm getting choked up now thinking of that day. Look around at the people you work with. Look around at your fellow employees in your own residence, in other residences, in the offices supporting you, because each and every day you're doing the miraculous. And this is a team of superstars. And unfortunately, you're not paid what you should be paid. And the work environments aren't as luxurious as maybe they should be. But there's a reason we're in this room together. There's a reason that you come to work each and every day. And it's because you are changing lives. Transitional. You are transitioning adults with mental disabilities into productive lives. And I know in this group, there are a lot of long-time employees. And I'd ask, if you've been here, I'd love to just know this, because to me, as Dave and Alyssa were telling me this, I was like, golly, more in awe of you. If you've been here 5 years or more, just stand up. Hey, look. Hey, don't sit down, don't sit down. I want you to look around at the number of people that are standing up at 5 years. The average in America, people have 7 jobs or more in their lifetime. In social services, my guess is people get burned out very quickly. Look at this group. Now, stay standing if you've been here 10 years or more. Stay standing 10 years or more.
Like 3 people sat there.
Yeah. Keep going.
That to me is amazing. 15 years or more. Stand up.
Wow.
Sit down the next.
Here's how you stand up.
20 years or more.
That's right.
Do 25.
25 years or more. Are you kidding me? I'm there. 30 years or more. 26 years. 26 years. Jess isn't even 33 years old. And Jackie doesn't look 33 years old. Right? So, no, I honestly, when you two told me about the longevity on the phone call a few weeks ago, I had no idea that we were talking of this magnitude. I'm floored even more. I'm floored. And again, I hope anything I share, because you guys are doing it each and every day, I hope there's something that I share.
Can I say something?
What's that? Sandy, please.
Because we have a good company that we work with.
Amen. And you know what I'll say to that comment? You're absolutely right. You know, very few companies, and one of the things that, you know, we need to do better in our own organization, invest in our people more and more. Hey, this is very expensive for TSI to have each of you out of the workplace right now, right? We know that. Guys, come and go. I love it. I love it. But Sandy, I agree with you. This is an amazing organization. But you know something? An amazing organization is only amazing if the people are the quality that you are. And so you make it. It's not a core value. These things are awesome, but these core values don't make this the organization that it is. It's you. And again, I'm just in awe of what you do. And so we're going to move in. Is there any, I wouldn't mind right now. I appreciate Sandy's comment. Are there any other comments that we as a group want to make for each other, or to each other, or about each other right now? Or recognize, is there anything you want to say? That was a very appropriate comment about the quality of TSI. Is there anything else anybody wants to say? Don't hesitate. All right, I'll move on. But Sandy, I appreciate you saying that. I really, and I know, by the way, that you've been through some transition over this last year and a half with the new leader and Victoria coming on board, with the core team being in place. And so with the new leader, there could be some hiccups. But again, Victoria has picked it up right where your former president or executive director left it, in a commitment to you. And that is so critical. Again, I guarantee that the top level at this company, or at this organization, wants to pay each of you more if they could. Right? I mean, right?
It's true. It's true.
There's no question. And that's a heart that many leaders do not have. I mean, we see it every day in the news, right? This executive making $23 million a year. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on, get real. Stock options worth $150 million, while people on their team, are unable to put food on their family, or have to work 2 and 3 jobs. It's insane. It's ridiculous. But in this organization, that's not how we operate. We are all in this together. And again, I appreciate your heart, Craig, and I appreciate you saying that, because this organization would love for each of you to make more than Starling Marte. But the reality is much different. And Alyssa and Dave and I were talking earlier this morning, and I'm going to bring it up now. I was going to bring it up a little bit later, but I just feel that this is the right time. My ears and my mind has been so attuned to the mental health world over these last couple of months as I've been preparing for today. And I have been absolutely astounded on what is happening in our world today with the mentally disabled. Now, this is just from yesterday. And this wasn't me Googling mental health problems in crime. This is stuff that came to my inbox just yesterday. The New York Times. Police confront rising number of mentally ill suspects. And The growing number of people with severe mental disorders who, in the absence of adequate mental health service, are coming in contact with the criminal justice system, sometimes with deadly consequences. Do you realize that you are standing in the gap for your clients so that they're not a statistic of coming in contact with the criminal justice system, sometimes with deadly consequences? This was sparked by an incident in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where a mentally ill man was in some mountain range that I can't even pronounce. He literally thought he was the Department of Defense. The police came after him, and this man, because of his mental illness, believed it was the country under attack, and he represented the country. He broke out 2 knives and went after the police. The police shot the man dead on the spot. And I'm not here to, I don't know enough about the situation to say whether that was a right action or unwarranted action, but I will say if there was a TSI in Albuquerque, that man wouldn't have been out there. He would have been in one of the residences. He wouldn't have been in front of the police. He would have been in front of you. And you would have been working to transition that man from these challenges and these just terrible thoughts in his mind to transitioning him back to where he can make an impact in the community. Transforming communities through the contributions of the people we serve. Where in Albuquerque is TSI? And if there is a TSI, they need people like you out there on the front lines, changing the lives of those people that we need to help as a nation. And again, this was the New York Times, and there was one other statement that I had to read to you. That police officers nationwide are becoming, by default, the first line of contact for severely troubled people who once might have gone to a community clinic or a community mental health crisis center. That's you. You are the front line here in Pittsburgh. You are the ones going and standing in the gap for our mentally ill citizens that need you. The police were never set up to do this. And you know, just as Wendell August in 2008 faced these terrible financial woes, money is being stripped every hour from our mental health system, the support system that supports TSI and others like you nationwide. We are ripping money away from Anybody want to say?
If I get a couple takers, not me.
Go tell them on the mountain.
That's right.
But when I and this was just yesterday. And here the problem has gotten worse in recent years as state and local governments have cut back on mental health services for financial reasons. About 6, and you know this was a shock to me. About 6% of the population, or 1 in every 17 Americans, suffer from serious mental illness, according to the National Institute of Mental Health. Are you kidding me?
And 1 in 4 will suffer from less severe illness.
Right.
So
That's so
if we always say, if you think you're doing okay, look at your 4 next friends.
There's 4 of us.
Paul always points to me at that.
Yeah.
To me, that is a staggering number. That is a staggering number. That 25% of the American population is suffering from some type of mental that is staggering to me. And again, the fact, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it, you guys are heroic for what you do each and every day. You have to understand that. You're not allowing these statistics to become real in this community. You're standing in the gap, and I'm amazed. 6%. Here's an article that the ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Director, denies agents knowingly target mentally disabled people for sting operations. A guy, the ATF director, the guy in D.C., had to appear in front of a House subcommittee in Congress yesterday, and he was grilled over the possibility that our federal government is using the mentally disabled in the communities who have not been transitioned to a more normal life. They are using them as bait. And you know this. That was, to me, just blown away. That they're using them as bait and in sting operations to find underground firearms, undercover drug stings.
Yeah.
It is amazing to me that we as a nation would so devalue a human being's life that we use them as a tool. Are you kidding? And guess who stands in the gap in Pittsburgh so that doesn't happen? I am in front of you today. And then how about the tragic news we heard last night?
Fort Hood.
I mean,
I was talking to Nami last night. What happened?
anybody want to share the story about what happened in Texas?
There was another shooting.
Fort Hood, one of our great Army bases. A mentally ill man went on another shooting rampage. I think 2009, there was the one prior that was more terror. This was a mental illness case. This gentleman killed 3 people.
14.
Wounded how many?
14.
And wounded 14.
Yes.
Where was the TSI at Fort Hood standing in the gap for that man? We have 17 lives, and he killed himself, right?
Yeah.
So 18.
Right.
18 lives, 18 families, 18 neighborhoods destroyed. Because we have nobody, we don't have enough people like you standing in the gap.
And when we hear those stories, well, we have 2 things to be sad. One, we're sad about the people, including the man who killed himself. But we also know that impacts what other people think of what we do, and it makes it even harder and harder for us to advocate for folks we serve to be out in the community, to live places. I mean, Jen and I have lived that firsthand in trying to bring up a program in a suburban area. And all of these stories, that's the end victim is people with mental illness who are really twice as likely to be victims of crime as your normal population, and no more likely to commit a crime. But their crimes make news. So it's a horrible thing.
stigma-
That's what we fight all the time.
So the stigma, I wouldn't even have thought that. Again, this to me is mind-blowing.
And we look at it, we appreciate all the things you say about us, but we know that the people we serve who wake up every day with this illness, those are the
Yeah,
heroes.
they got the bigger battle.
Absolutely.
Because they have to prove that if it is known that they have an illness, that they're not going to one day just become violent and hurt everybody around them. Because of the coverage in the media, there's a direct association, as Sally Ann was pointing out, and I just want to underscore it, that if you are mentally ill, that you will potentially be violent and cause some kind of great catastrophe.
Right.
And that's just, and it's a juggernaut that we have to fight every day in our communications, in communicating with individuals so they don't, self-stigmatize even. It's very, very, very difficult. It takes us 5 steps back every time we make some forward.
Every time one of these stories comes on, my heart just sinks, because I just know that I have to fight harder and harder.
Wow.
Because there are those people who do fall through the cracks, and those are the ones that are in the media.
Right, the people, and I don't know if you all could hear that in those comments, but it's the people that fall through the cracks that don't have a support system that they can rely on transitioning in the community, that fall through the cracks, that have the issues, that make the news, and then make your work that much harder and make your clients' lives that much more difficult. So, and again, you live this each and every day. To me, this was staggering. And again, this is just one day in my inbox. And I wasn't even looking for it. I was scanning my daily email from the New York Times. I was scanning my daily email from townhall.com, some news outlets that I subscribe to on a daily basis. And then I read with horror last night what was happening in Texas. I wasn't even looking for it.